Welcome back. This is Mark, and this is a follow-up video to my previous video on my Tremec Magnum install in my '69 Mustang, and I'll be going over a few things that I left out in that video. Here's a look at the master cylinder setup for the clutch. You can see it comes through the firewall there. If you have an automatic car, you need to drill a hole. There's a dimple in the firewall to locate where to drill the hole. Also with the closeness of the brake master cylinder here with the brake lines, and this hydraulic block did have it on the inner fender well. I had to relocate that underneath the brake master cylinder. Got a bracket to do that from CJ Pony Parts. Those are pretty common, and I believe this hydraulic block is a GM style unit. The reservoir for the master cylinder, we had a problem bleeding the clutch master cylinder. Initially filled it up, expected to gravity bleed it by opening the vent hose that comes out of the vent line that comes out of the throwout bearing on the bottom, the side of the bell housing. So filled that up and expected it to bleed, just gravity bleed like I said, and nothing happened. So then we tried a hand operated vacuum pump on the vent hose down below, and that wouldn't do anything. So ended up hooking up a vacuum pump for pumping down an AC system, and that maintains a constant vacuum, and it'll pull 28 inches of mercury pretty easily. Anyway, it drained this reservoir here probably about 10 seconds, shut the pump off, did that 3 times, filled this back up, drained it again, and it pulls the hydraulic fluid out with the air. So after doing that 3 times, got a pretty firm pedal, and then proceeded to bleed it from the top here by using a hand-operated vacuum pump and just putting the hose down to the bottom of this reservoir and drawing the air out. Also, you can tell I've got headers on. These are old Ford Motorsport headers. I wanted to check the fitment of a set of headers with the up against the side of the transmission. So I had these on this car at one time, so I took the cast iron manifold off and put these headers on. These are 1.5 inch diameter, so when I put the new motor in, I'm going to go with 1 3/4, but they seem to clear the transmission with no problem. Here's a look at the Ron Morris drop motor mounts that drop the engine about 1/2 inch to give you more clearance in the transmission tunnel. Here's a look at the bleed line coming out of the bell housing, coming from the throwout bearing. You can see also the pressurized line coming from the master cylinder. To bleed this, you would just loosen that fitting up there like you would a brake line. Take a quick look under the dash. Here's the pedal layout. New clutch pedal, modern driveline clutch pedal came with my kit. This I had to purchase separately, was a '67 Cougar. Brake pedal. The brake pedal for the automatic cars is larger than a manual car. So this '67 Cougar with a manual pedal is the same as a '69 Mustang would be with a manual. Looking underneath the dash, see if we can see the linkage for the clutch pedal operating, linkage for the master cylinder. You can also see the switch that we installed that interrupts the 12 volts going to the starter until you make contact with that switch. So basically depress the clutch pedal to start the car. It's a safety feature, really not necessary. I mean, you could just get by with just knowing to not start the car in gear, obviously, but for someone else driving the car that's not as familiar with it, that may try to start it in gear, I guess it's a bonus. box up here is a electronic control for the reverse lockout that came with my kit. Basically, the Magnum has a feature solenoid in the transmission that prevents you from putting the car in reverse when it senses your speed is a forward speed. Anything greater than like 5 miles per hour, I believe, will activate this solenoid on the transmission. It prevents you from putting it in reverse. Have to wire that into 12 volts. Going back underneath. Coleman Racing Driveshaft, ordered through Streeter Track. This is a 47.5 inch length driveshaft, from center of U-joint to center of U-joint. I did replace the stock pinion yoke, which was a 1310 long skinny yoke with about 4 inches in exposed length, and replaced it with a beefier, shorter 1350 series yoke from Strange Engineering. It's about 3 inches in exposed length, and this affected the drive shaft length. I think I'm ready to roll out from underneath the car. I'll see you all in the next video.